All right, well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another great Lunch and Learn. I'm Alexa Francis House, an administrative officer in the purchasing division. And today we're really excited to talk about this topic, which is the Broward County Procurement Division Procurement Code updates and some future improvements that you'll definitely want to hear about. Our speakers today are Connie Mangan. Go ahead and wave, Connie. She is the assistant director here in the purchasing division. She's been with purchasing for over 17 years. Yay, Connie. And prior to being the AD, she managed and worked on a variety of procurements over the years, including commodities, construction, and professional services for Broward County. Ms. Mangan majored in management at the University of Florida and holds a Certified Public Procurement Officer, CPPO, nationally recognized certification for procurement professionals. And so also you will hear from Fernando A. Fernando, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce your last name, who is our senior assistant county attorney from the county attorney's office. Fernando has been advising Broward County's purchasing division since 2018 and is a senior assistant county attorney. He provides legal advice and support in connection with the procurement of goods, services, and construction. Fernando previously served as deputy city attorney with the city of Sunny Isles Beach for 10 years and is a graduate of the University of Miami School of Law. So go ahead and wave, Fernando, so they can see you. All right, so both Connie and Fernando are going to go ahead and pop their cameras off just to make sure that we don't have any issues with streaming or any of that. And without further ado, I'll toss over to Connie. Oh, and also, if you guys have any burning questions as they are presenting, please feel free to type them in the chat. And then at key points, Connie will let me know, and I'll go ahead and review those questions. All right, thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So as mentioned, we're going to be going through the most recent procurement code changes, which were effective and adopted by the board on June 13th, 2023. So we're going to review them today in kind of three main buckets: process improvements, governance and reporting, and quote unquote cleanup. The procurement code did a complete rewrite several years ago. So there are some items from that change that we're also making updates to, as far as since it's been in practice now for a few years. So the first ones I'm going to go over is process improvements, and that's the main focus for today, is RFP approval by notice of the board. 5-year limits were removed for projects under 500,000, and negotiating bids was opened up when it's over budget. So the big focus is advertising approval for RFPs, RLIs, and RFQs, also known as committee-based procurements, for anything over $500,000. Currently, we were required to submit an agenda report to the board for their approval prior to advertising. Instead of the agenda report, an actual email notice will be sent to the board with a draft copy of the solicitation. At the same time, we'll also be concurrently posting a pre-advertisement through our electronic bidding system so that vendors also see it in essentially a draft form prior to it being officially advertised. This is going to turn into a huge time savings of anywhere to 4 to 6 weeks, because we're eliminating the agenda routing process that it takes internally for us to issue these committee-based procurements when they're over 500,000. Another change on committee-based procurements for greater than 500,000. It was similar if we had to unfortunately do a reject all. An agenda report was required to go to the board. They also granted us this as well for a notice to the board instead of by an agenda report. Similar to advertising, the board does have an option to request it to the agenda report instead. However, if there are no quote unquote pulls from commissioners, we're able to reject that underneath the Director of Purchasing's authority. And again, that's an estimated savings of 4 to 6 weeks, which would allow us to move past the solicitation process and either start a new one or provide a faster solution to the issue at hand. Additional process improvements is also 5-year limitations removed for contracts under 500,000. This is making it much more efficient for smaller contracts that, especially something like maybe software where you will have multiple years and it normally does extend past 5 years. This allows us to approve it within the Director of Purchasing's award authority, which is 500,000. However, we're not limited by a 5-year limitation. Previously, if something, regardless the amount, went over 5 years, again, we'd have to do an agenda report to the board. So this is a big time savings for especially some of the smaller projects. The next area for process improvement, there was a provision for negotiating bids over budget, but it was limited to just construction. We're able to remove the construction limitation, so this can be on a commodity bid, on a service bid, in addition to construction bids. Additionally, there's a 10% limitation as far as we could only quote unquote negotiate bids if they were within 10% of the budget. That percent difference has been removed, which again gives us a little more leeway depending on the size of the bid. Obviously, for negotiating bids at budget, that's still within Broward County's discretion. That's not a requirement. Really, that will be taken on a case-by-case basis. But we are looking at trying to open up additional options for the county when it comes to awarding certain bids. And actually, I'll go back. Is there any questions anyone has for process improvements on either the 5-year negotiate bids or on the RFP approval or reject all? I don't see any hands or chat, so I'll go ahead and keep
Nothing
going.
in the chat. Keep on
Okay.
chugging along.
Okay. The next big chunk of items is the governance reporting. So we broke them into execution authority, monthly procurement reports, again, the RFP or RLI, RFQ pre-solicitation notices, and administrative law judgment hearings. So regarding the execution authority, that was opened up. Previously, it was divided into 2 sections as far as for certain types of contracts. The Director of Purchasing could delegate to using agencies up to 100,000. And then it switched as far as the type of contracts the Director of Purchasing could could delegate to agencies up to 500,000. So that just became a flat amount of up to the Director's Purchasing's authority. There is discretion as far as he can delegate any type of contract within his authority. Next, as far as monthly procurement reports, those are now posted publicly on our external purchasing division webpage at the bottom of the homepage there. Previously, these reports were distributed internally to commissioners and to internal agencies. These are now available to using agencies as well. And again, as mentioned, committee-based procurements now have pre-solicitation notices that are posted through our electronic bidding system. So any vendor is available to view them prior to final advertising. Then another big change, however, hopefully you don't see this often, is if when it comes to a protest, if we have denied it and the vendor submits an appeal, the appeal still goes to DOA. However, the decision, allowance for the decision was put through the county administrator as far as for accepting or denying, and also giving notice to the Board of County Commissioners. And then finally, cleanup. There's some terminology changes, i.e., the word piggyback was removed. That didn't remove our ability to do those type of contracts. It's just removing that terminology and using an updated terminology. Protest deadlines, that also eliminated for appeals. If that final deadline fell on a weekend, it would push to the next business day. And for the RFP world, that was opened up so that vendors can withdraw and the Director of Purchasing can approve that withdrawal. Or also it deleted a review of an unbalanced analysis, which is much more difficult than it is in the bid world when you get to RFPs. And that's also RFPs are negotiable. So there's a little bit of, they were being painted the same previously. These 2 items were removed from the RFP world to make more sense for this type of solicitation. And for more information, and I can also share these in a second as well, we have the cheat sheet from the Office of the County Attorney, and then also the revised procurement code, which I believe has been distributed internally. And Alexa will be posting them, I believe, through chat as part of this. So at this time, I will turn it over for any questions and answers, and Fernando is also available for any Q&A too.
And Fernando, if you would like to kind of talk us through a little bit about what are some of the high level items on the cheat sheet that we just dropped into the chat.
Yeah, no, I think Connie covered all the the high level points.
Okay, and that's
And basically in those buckets that Connie mentioned, that's exactly it. It's like some of these were like, minor glitch cleanups. Others were basically requests from county admin and purchasing for expediency, process improvements. It's saving 4 to 6 weeks time, some of them. So some of the other ones were for clarification. The last point that Connie touched upon, the appeals, that is a pretty high level significant change. Previously the decision of the administrative law judge, was binding on the county. So if you had an appeal of a decision regarding responsiveness or a protest of the award, the ranking, under the previous existing of the code prior to June 13th, the ALJ decision was final. Now it's a recommended order. And as Connie indicated, it's the county administrator can accept, reject, or modify, and the board ultimately has a final decision.
Okay, and Connie is basically scrolling through the cheat sheet there. We've also, for your convenience, dropped them in the chat, as well as a PDF version of the updated procurement code. Are there any questions on the changes that were made and maybe how it impacts you? Okay, not seeing any burning questions. So anything further to add, Connie or Fernando or Bob?
No, that was it. I mean, yeah, I mean, again, to reiterate the point Connie made about the 5-year limitation, that's a significant, very high level, but very significant one, because again, that 5-year rule was kind of like hamstringing the county's ability to extend contracts without have to go to the board, even if it's a very low dollar contract. So this is a huge change.
And I'll just jump bigger picture as far as, even though we just went through this change in June, us looking at the procurement code for any additional efficiencies or, things that are holding us up. That is something we'll probably get back into in the next couple of months. We want to make sure that the code's working for us. It's allowing us to be competitive. It's allowing us to complete our business. So we're open to any comments, suggestions, efficiency improvements. We're here to listen so that we can, again, protect the county, but also get the business done.
And so since this is probably a lot of information to digest, and you guys are probably so quiet because you're reviewing the cheat sheet and all the other materials, at least that's what I'm thinking in my head. Feel free to send your questions to purchasingtraining@broward.org, and I'll go ahead and pop that in the chat. If you have any additional questions, if you have any recommendations, as Connie said, as to additional improvements, that we should consider, feel free to go ahead and type and send us an email, and we're happy to look at that information as well. Is there anything else that Bob, Connie, Fernando, you would like to add as it pertains to today's Lunch and Learn?
No, I don't.
Hey,
Go ahead, Bob.
I would just add, Connie hit the right note. This is the way we do our business. So for those of you who are internal within purchasing or external within the using agencies, if you identify opportunities where we can accomplish things in a more efficient way and add value through any code changes that might be required, I would encourage you to contact Alexa, Connie, me, or anybody that you know here in the division, and we can escalate things. We'll discuss it with the county attorney's office and administration, and we'll be able to help make purchasing maybe with less friction or less pain, or however you want to characterize it, more efficiently in the future. But it's the code upon which we conduct all of our commercial business. So we rely on you, the eyes and ears and the muscle that's out there doing procurement to help us make things better. So that's I just wanted to emphasize that, Alexa and Connie, and thank you for that.
All right, thank you, Bob. Well, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so this is a quick one. Thank you guys for attending today's Lunch and Learn about Broward County's, the update to Broward County's procurement code. As I mentioned before, this session, it has been recorded. So at the end of the session, it will be added to our Lunch and Learn playlist. Feel free to go ahead and watch this as well as any other videos and let us know what you think. Thank you guys and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.